Sheesh, golf fans. That was a heck of a day out there on the links. We got ourselves some old-fashioned carnage. And here, we're bringing you our weekly live stream, right? Our round two stream, breaking down all of the action from Friday. We're going to bring you a little review from today. Make sure we're all on the same page in terms of some of the field averages and how it might impact play tomorrow. We'll look at the weather and then get you guys equipped with the knowledge you need both for Showdown and for the prop side to hopefully cash out here on a Friday. Get our weekend started off on the right note. It was insane out there today with the conditions. Honestly, I don't know if I bought into the hype about the golf course as much as most. I thought it'd be difficult. Winning score probably right around the 6 under par range, but maybe not as difficult as what we saw today. I mean, I didn't think 5 under par would be winning. I thought somebody might get out there to 6, 7 under par. I thought the studs would in general mostly shoot like even par or better. And John Rahm is 6 over par. Sanjay M of all people, luckily, no exposure here. That would have been dreadful, but shot 10 over par, shot an 80 out there. Even with ideal, perfect weather conditions, these guys got their ass handed to them. So when we look at the forecast here in a little bit, just a little spoiler alert, it is going to be nasty out there tomorrow. It's only going to furthermore be that case. So if you like some carnage, well, boy, do I have a golf tournament for you. Doc D seems to be enjoying the carnage out there, says the carnage was severe. Raise your hand if you had Eric Cole leading. Well, I'm sure as shit don't have my hand up, that's for sure. One of South Florida's finest, though. So I have to say I'm pretty stoked seeing Eric Cole going down there leading. He's from some of the courses that I play. Brant must have liked the carnage out there. Do we dare take Rahm tomorrow? I will be. He's actually 2.5 shots worse than the scoring average, right? So I know 6 over par looks pretty dog shit, and don't get me wrong, right? That is a horrible round, especially for somebody of Rahm's caliber, but only 2.5 shots worse than the field average. So, Sun GM, right? No excuses, right? For going out there shooting an 80, but even those guys that shot like +4, +5, really not all that bad. So yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. They are certainly in play for fantasy. What about a bogey day? Any hope for Sanjay to make the cut? Probably not. So, I mean, 10 over par, cut's going to be like -6. Sorry, I should say +6, right? Not -6. It'll be like +6, maybe +7, depending on the weather forecast we're looking at. So he would have to shoot like 3 under par, which I suppose is doable, but it's going to be nasty out there tomorrow. I mean, he would have to play perfect. Speaking of, let's just hop right into it, right? Let's talk about this carnage that we've been speaking of. Scoring average of 3.6 over par, and that is a little bit, again, that's more severe than what I thought it was going to be. I thought we'd see like a stroke and a half, maybe 2-stroke over par average, and all but 2 holes played over par. You can see hole number 4, par 5, played over under par. And then 14, the drivable par 4, that's right around 315, 320 yards, played slightly under par as well. Everything else, a bogey hole, right? Where par is going to gain you strokes to the field. It's that kind of golf course. We were targeting those kind of players coming into the week, but it's even more so the case. I think if there's any change round one or something that we learned about the course round one is that the hype with how difficult this place was going to be was, buy it, it's legit, right? Buy into it, right? This is actually that difficult of a golf course. And if you look at the top of the board, that is extremely evident, right? It's ball strikers galore. Eric Cole, I have to say, might be like the one outlier up top, but he's also one of the better around the green players on tour. He has one of the better short games that you'll see. Also an exceptional putter that is doing a lot of it with the flat stick. And he had a really good day off the tee so far. He actually hasn't finished his round yet, right? He's only through 14 holes. But yeah, it's mostly ball strikers, right? Off the tee players like a Bryson up there, Keegan, Scott, I mean, even Ryan Fox, right? An off the tee kind of specialist. Buckley off the tee guy, right? Mitchell. We're only 1 round in. I mean, Straka, Peters, even Justin Suh hits the ball quite a long way. Of the guys in the top 10, I would say 80, 90% of them, right, are bombers. And I wouldn't even say just like long players off the tee, some of the longest players in the field. And I would expect that just to continue. Maybe the wind makes some of these around the green guys a little bit better. So, Eric Cole's up here because he's really stout around the green. That kind of mold, I think, is more so in play when it's really nasty out. So when the winds are kicking up, you might see a scoring average of like 4.5, 5 shots over par. And I'm kind of looking for those kind of guys. So like, let's find a few, right? Kirk Kitayama, sketchy around the green game. Justin Rose, right? If he was a better driver of the golf ball, we would probably throw into that conversation. There's not many of them, right? Rory McIlroy, right? Obviously, he's a stud. He's good at pretty much everything, right? But he's really good off the tee and really good around the green. So he's kind of like the player that you're looking for. Bo Hostler, believe it or not, really checks both of those boxes, right? He's really good off the tee, a really stout short game player as well. Phil Mickelson fits that kind of mold. You're looking for players, right? Especially at a course with rough this penal that can keep themselves in position. And then with these wind gusts, when you inevitably miss greens, I mean, even if you're hitting a bunch of fairways, you're still going to miss greens. You need guys that can hold par on the card, right? And I know for Showdown, we're much more looking for birdies than we are bogeys, but you're not going to get to the optimal lineup, right? Making like 3-4 birdies and then like 7-8 bogeys, right? You know, there's a limit to it, right? You're still losing, I believe it's like 48% of a birdie every time you go out there and bogey. So like, you know, a couple bogeys are okay, right? Like 2-3 on the round, making 5-6 is when you really start to tank your fantasy score. It keeps you away from streaks, so on and so forth, right? You guys get the idea there. Let's take a look at the weather. So for Friday, it's even worse than today. It's worth noting that it was near ideal for Thursday's round in Rochester, sub 8-mile-an-hour wind gusts the entire day. Well, tomorrow, the lowest wind gusts are going to be 22 miles an hour, and there's going to be stages where it's in the 30 miles an hour range. So if you thought today was difficult, right, 3.5 over par scoring average, well, it's going to get even worse tomorrow. You take a look at Willy weather here, so you can see today, right, relatively low winds, but it spiked up to 12 miles an hour for a little bit today, right around 1 p.m. Towards the mid-afternoon, it got close to like 13 miles an hour, so there was a little bit of wind out there, right? But tomorrow is a steady 15 to 18 miles an hour. And, you know, like we can see over here on Windfinder, it's also on a few other sites that have the HRRR projections, which are a little bit more accurate, I would say, than what you have here on Windfinder, are all calling for 25 to 35 mile an hour wind gusts. And in fact, some of the models, like the HRR in the morning, are calling for nearly 40 mile an hour wind gusts from like 7 to 8 a.m., which is actually when they're going to be finishing up round one. So I'm just expecting these scores to balloon. I think this PM average, which right now is actually better than the morning, is likely to flip-flop. I think by the end of round one, so after they finish up the holes tomorrow morning, that this scoring average, right, 3.51, it'll change as the holes are entered tomorrow morning, is going to get worse than this 3.73 average. So, and again, it's 0.2 lower right now, right? 0.22 shots lower between the AM and the PM wave right now, even with just a few holes left for most players, right? Like 3-4 holes. I think you're going to see a complete flip-flop. That's how difficult the conditions are going to be out there. So what does this mean for DFS, right? Well, first, you know, a few things. The winds are slightly lower towards the end of the day than they are in the morning. And it is also warmer in the PM wave tomorrow. So I kind of like the idea of trying to take the guys that are teeing off in the PM wave. But I don't think it's going to be a massive edge, right? By the time they're actually starting round two tomorrow, right? The guys that are counting for round two showdown, for round two props, all that sort of fun stuff. I mean, they're going to be starting at like 8:30 a.m. That's kind of like when I'm expecting them to start. You can see they'll have slightly higher winds for like maybe the first hour and a half of play, but it calms down by the afternoon. The other reason I think you might see an edge is right today, the afternoon was slightly easier than the morning. And if anything, the winds were slightly higher in the afternoon. So I think a lot of that might have been due to temperature, right? It was warmer in the afternoon. You had more roll on the fairways, so on and so forth. And if that was the reason for it, again, that's speculative, right? We don't really know the reason for it. But what we do know, right, is that the afternoon was slightly easier than the morning today. And if anything, if you want to look at the two waves, it was like Rory, Scotty, John Rahm, like all the big three, a lot of those studs were in the morning wave. So if anything, you would think that the, you know, better players would skew towards having the better scores, and they were 0.2 shots worse. So the way I'm looking at it, with slightly lower winds, with that, you know, small advantage that the PM wave had today, you know, Thursday for round one, I think the PM wave might be the move tomorrow, right? Maybe slightly favoring it, not taking all PM wave guys by any means, but if you're trying to break ties, if you're trying to, let's say, add extra players to your pool at the end. Let's say you don't have a large enough player pool, right? You're trying to add 4 or 5 guys. Well, maybe just add 4 or 5 guys on the PM wave, right? That's a way to go out there and incorporate this weather edge. You're still going to see guys that go out there, break the mold, right? Today, I know it was 0.2 shots, right? It's essentially no edge out there, but like Bryson still broke through, right? Scotty Scheffler -3. A lot of the guys at the top were -4, right? Obviously, what was it? DJ was -4 for quite some time, but he finished at -3 there. Eric Cole's there in the PM wave, but a good mix up top. So don't go crazy with the weather edge, is I guess what I'm trying to warn you about. Let's bring up our projections and start talking some game theory. And also, I can see a bunch of you are down there in chat now, which I love to see. What's going on, guys? Let's welcome y'all to the live stream here. Multi, I saw your comment. I had to point it out. It indeed is absolutely a good day for stroke overs. In fact, before we went on stream here, I nuked a ton of them over there on Underdog. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the stream. We'll go through all that in detail, but completely agree. Give you all the Tom Kim tomorrow. I'm with it. Do we think he gets an ownership bump because of going in the river, right? Getting all the mud over him. People just love the kid to begin with, right? He's probably going to be popular. Hopefully not. I'll definitely be there. Tom Kim should have a cleaner round. Yeah, both from the attire and, of course, the play there. Lots of folks who are listening to Oak Hill layout and Winged Foot, so maybe not a total shock to see Bryson. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that as well. I played Bryson this week. He was in my player pool from Monday. In fact, I considered firing an outright bet. I didn't. I know somebody, Nick actually, went out there, bet Bryson outright. So hats off to him. That's a pretty bold take, and it's working out so far. But yeah, I have him in DFS and about, I think it's 16% of the lineups, at least for my large field GPP. That's the kind of exposure that I have. And I don't know. I don't want to victory lap it yet. He could just shoot 78 tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. He's that kind of player. But yeah, I understood the course fit. He's been decent on live of late, but he's had blow up rounds on live. Like he's gone out there, had a round like he had today. And just last week, for example, was horrible there on Sunday. So he's still extremely inconsistent. And now he has 4 rounds instead of 3. Ooh, just another chance to blow up. So yeah, he's got that to dodge. Roger says Haddon was horrible. Going over. You're going over again tomorrow. Yeah, I faded him for week long, so it's a little bit easier for me to get to that kind of player for Showdown, right? I'm not going to hold a grudge against him. But yeah, the ownership now is beautiful, right? 12.7%, right? He's not going to be like, I don't know, it was like 16, 17% owned, depending on what contest that you were in this week. Yeah, speaking of, right, guys that had horrible rounds today, right? John Rahm, I'm playing him, right? Terrell Hatton fits that description. Sungjae Im, no, right? When you shoot 10 over par, you shoot 80, and you're still at least getting a little bit of ownership, right? I still have him at 8.8%. No, thank you, right? Like, I'll take my pivots that were just slightly off, right? Like, John Rahm cannot make a putt. This guy was missing short par putts. He was missing all the birdie putts from that 5 to 10 foot range. Hit the ball pretty well today, actually. Jordan Spieth, same thing down here, right? He's 3 over par. He hit the ball really well today. He drove the ball unbelievably well. I mean, when he hit the first tee shot and absolutely flushed it, I mean, I was hyped. I went down to Discord. I was like, he does not look injured. And realistically, the ball striking was just as good as it was when he was going out there finishing top 5 at events. His putter today, and speaking of, I just want to look at the shots gained. I know they have it up on Data Golf for it. It had to have just been horrible. I know he made a few putts to kind of like save himself there, but I can't imagine that he gained strokes to the field with the flat stick. I mean, even making a few 10-footers. Let's see. Shots gained putting, lost a stroke and a half today. So I actually thought it'd be a little bit worse than that. Right. He gained on approach and he gained off the tee. It's those sort of players that I'm actively looking to get to tomorrow, right? The ones that maybe didn't have the best round, but it wasn't all that bad. Cam Young fits that description. He birdied the last hole, hit an absolute dart on 18, which is one of the more difficult holes on the entire course. I like that momentum. I like the fact that he hit the ball better than what he scored today. Those are the kind of guys I'm trying to play for round 2 Showdown, right? Ownership is going to always condense around the guys that played well on Thursday. It's going to condense around the guys that are seemingly mispriced. I mean, there's usually quite a few guys like that on the slate. You know, Dustin Johnson kind of sticks out where he's only $8,400 and he played well today. So that's why he's actually the second highest owned player on the entire slate. Highest owned Scotty Scheffler, right? When a stud goes out there and asserts themselves, when the next guy under par is the whole way down here, Victor Hovland, all the casuals are going to play Scotty tomorrow. I mean, he's going to be by far the highest owned guy up top. And it's not that I think it's impossible for him to go out there and succeed. It's just that when you're giving me like 2-to-1 odds versus some of these other players, I'm going to take that, right? From the game theory angle. He's a great player, but he's not twice as likely as these other, great players out there. I almost knocked over my drink over that. That would have been funny. But he's not twice as likely as the other great players to succeed, is I guess the point that we're getting to there. Let's catch up on chat before we completely hop into this player poll here. Sticking with the single entry contest, your help is most appreciated. Yes, for single entries, you don't have to get as different, I would say, right? Maybe don't go down into that 6K range as often, unless you find a play that you really like. You know the deal, Mark. But yeah, we'll talk about some single entry strategy towards the end of the stream. All those props increased by a stroke already. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. They should. They were off by a solid like 2.5, 3 strokes. So we'll get to those at the end of the stream. Yeah, there's a reason why they're going up. That's for damn sure. That Underdog lines maker did not do a good job. Let's just say that. I don't know if you looked at the weather forecast before going out there and hitting submit. Let's just go through this player pool. We'll talk about props at the end. You guys know the deal. There might be bumps until that point. I'm hoping the other sites will post their board by the time that we get there. And we'll have more to talk about than just Underdog, who has been on the ball. Hats off to them. They've still been bumping stuff, but at least they're keeping stuff on the board now. They're just bumping them and getting props up early. They're offering enough props, like 3 categories. Can't say too much bad stuff about them. They've got their stuff together. This 7K range is where you're going to get some egregious chalk, in my opinion. Like in Adam Scott, 17% owned. So hit the gala, right, because of how he started his round. A Justin Rose, a Keegan Bradley after his round. This is a range where I think it's just like an auto fade, right? Like up top, if you told me you really had to play Scotty Scheffler tomorrow, like you were like world's second best player or world's best player, right? I guess if you think he's better than Jon Rahm, which I completely disagree with, but if you think he's the best player in the world, you can't avoid him tomorrow, right? That makes more sense, right? The chalk up top, I'd be willing to eat like a Scotty Scheffler. I mean, even a Dustin Johnson, right? You told me he won last week. He looked good in round 1. He fits this golf course. He's cheap. I'm playing Dustin Johnson tomorrow. I understand it, right? I really can't understand an argument for you saying that you have to play Adam Scott, right? Or a Sahith Theegala or a Justin Rose, Keegan Bradley, those sort of players. Going down even further, like a Bryson, like that is just 2-3 times higher owned than his peers. Eric Cole, because of his positioning, he's going to be super highly owned. Who is it? Ryan Fox, right? They're at -2. Like he's 2, 3, sometimes 5, 6 times higher owned than some of his peers. You can't really convince me that those guys are worth it, right? Scotty Scheffler, DJ even, maybe the top end of the 7K range. Like if you were just in love with Adam Scott, then maybe, but those other guys, right, bottom of the 7K, especially the 6K chalk, is egregious. You should just avoid it at all costs if you're playing in large field GBPs. If, like Mark, you're playing in single entries, I don't think you have to avoid those sort of players, but I wouldn't play more than 1, maybe 2. I mean, 2 would be pushing it, I'd say, for going out there ownership-wise, even in a single entry kind of contest. But I'm more willing to kind of eat that chalk in those, but personally, I wouldn't, right? I still play aggressively in those single entry contests, but I do understand the thought process. In terms of your values, I think there's quite a few to be had. I mean, Gary Woodland, another one of those players, the scorecard really didn't reflect how he hit the ball. Siwoo Kim did everything but the around the green today, and around the green is one of his better stat categories, so I'm expecting that to turn around. Seamus Power, just a better player than his price tag. Getting to guys like Aaron Wise down here, who's high upside. Robert McIntyre loves himself dreadful conditions, right? He's from Scotland, so should be used to it. Dean Burmeister, long player, can get really hot off the tee. I like that. Taylor Montgomery has shown us that he's good in windy conditions before. We've talked about that a few times here on the Showdown stream, so going right back to the well. Yannick Paul, a DP World Tour player. I like their grinded attitudes out there. Thomas Peters, you could get to, but I like Ben Griffin a little bit more, truth be told. I also like Francesco Molinari, both of them because of their low ball flights, right? And, I mentioned towards the beginning that when you get really difficult conditions, that around the green gets really important, right? And I'm looking for those kind of players, and that it's not sexy, but it's these kind of guys, right? Like a Ben Griffin, a Francesco Molinari. who you really wouldn't think of at a long golf course. But when it's going to play as difficult as it's going to here for Friday, these sort of guys are especially viable, and they're unowned, right? 0.6, I mean, 0.3% owned. You're not going to find lower owned players. Sandwiched right besides Eric Cole, who's 9%, who's more than 10 times higher owned than them. Even going down further, Moronk, another DP World Tour player that I think can go out there and grind it. We've got Webb Simpson, experienced, like I said, he's not a bomber, right? But he's well-rounded. He's really good around the green and, can manage his game when it gets really difficult out there. So Alex Noren, right? Another one. You can see, especially towards the bottom of the board, that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? Like Danny Willett, I'm taking Matt Wallace, really good around the green player. Zach Johnson, right? Like he's the ultimate grinder, right? Like you wouldn't think Zach Johnson at this golf course, right? But when the scoring average might be 5 strokes over par or worse, you want is Zach Johnson. Like he's the exact kind of player that can just save par over and over and over again. If he makes like 2 birdies and has 1 bogey on the round, it might not be in the top 6 fantasy scores, but at $6,500, that might win you a GPP. Literally, that's how low the scoring is going to be tomorrow. I mean, look at this. 18 projected fantasy points. I mean, what your high projection here is Nick Taylor, and he's at 25 fantasy points. Like it's a different slate, right? The scoring is going to be hard to come by tomorrow. Thorborn Olesen, DP World Tour player, experience, checks those boxes. Thurston Lawrence, another one, DP World Tour. Like you guys get the point. There's a type I'm going for tomorrow, right? And we're running with it. We're trying to correlate our lineups. Davis Thompson, I think, is just mispriced. I think he's a better player than that price tag. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going below there, right? I'm trying to stick to my grinders. Up top, taking my leverage spots, right? That's really what I'm trying to get different. And hopefully that cooks up to a successful Friday from the Showdown side over there. Let's catch up on questions. Let's go through some lineup construction stuff. And then we're going to wrap it up with some prop content. Alrighty. Let me bring up Draftkings. There we go. And we'll start off with some cash plays, a little segue before we hop into the GPP mindset. As per usual, if you guys don't know what cash contests are, it's when you're playing against 50% of the field. That would be a double up contest. That would be your 50-50s, right? Where you're getting half the field is getting paid, half of them aren't. Sometimes it's like 47% that are getting paid if you're talking about like the double up contest. Similar strategy for all of them, though. Just trying to go out there, be in the top half of the field, and then hopefully get paid off for that. And in these kind of contests, ownership doesn't matter as much, right? You don't need to finish in the top 10, the top 5. The first place score gets paid the exact same as you finishing in the 51st percentile. So the idea here is that chalk is actually a good thing, right? You kind of want to corner yourself into the rest of the field and then win this tournament with just 1 or 2 decisions. So I think to do that tomorrow, Scotty Scheffler's not the worst idea, right? He'll be playing in the PM wave. I think if anything, that's the side that'll get the better conditions. And at $11,100, it's not ideal, but it's doable, especially with how soft this pricing is. When I went through and started doing ownership, I had to really make it a lot more top heavy because of how soft the pricing is. Everyone's significantly cheaper than they were for your 4-round contest. So you can still play an $11,000 golfer. You're not going to have an issue with it. Let's put DJ in there. Let's take some more chalk in this 7K range. Let's throw, Keegan, right? He's going to get a bunch of ownership. Let's throw Jason Rose in there. He's like a perfect candidate for this kind of lineup. Even Thigala, right? He's super cheap. He's only $7,700. Look how easy this lineup is to make. You still have $7,800, right? There's a chalky guy at $7,800 that you could probably finish this kind of lineup off with. And that might be the way to go out there for your cash lineup tomorrow. All of these players are guys that I'm avoiding for GPPs, right? They might be decent plays. They might have played well in round 1. That might make them slightly more likely to succeed in round 2 than a lot of the other players, but it doesn't mean they're going to be the nuts play. But in cash, we don't need the nuts play, right? That's why I'm kind of trying to get to the highest projected players because we're just trying to beat half the field. And if you're doing that for NFL, right? You just take all the chalk for NFL. Playing, soccer cash, I'm sure it's the same way, right? You just take all the chalk there. MMA DFS, it's the same thing when you're playing chalk. Sometimes we even play 2 fighters against each other for that to try and, take the chalk fight that is going to have a lot of fantasy points scored. It's the same across all all 4 or 5 major sports over there on DraftKings. So yeah, rinse, repeat that. Maybe change up your strategy for 1-2 spots, and you've got yourself a decent shot going out there and cashing. In terms of GPPs, it's a completely different mindset, right? We're trying to win first place. We're trying to get in that top 5. We're going after that top 1 percentile outcome because you're going to get paid accordingly, right? When you finish in the top half, you might not even get paid, right? Usually it's like the top 20, 25% that are getting paid. So you want more of like a go big, go home kind of strategy here. This is where taking pivots is huge. And I think peppering this 9K range with the pivots specifically could be a really good way to get different tomorrow. So what I mean by that, right? No one's going to play Cantlay, right? He's your worst guy up top. I mean, John Rahm, you could throw into that, but he's a little bit too expensive for this, and I'll show you why. We just want to pepper this 8 and 9K range. Let's throw J-Day in there, right? He didn't have a practice round. Let's assume that that round won his practice round. Hopefully makes him a little bit better. Let's throw Terrell Hatton in there. Talked about him, right? Like he had a horrible round. Can't do it again. Yeah, no. He'll go out there. He'll play better there for Friday. Let's see. Cam Smith, we get thrown into this kind of lineup. Right now, a ton of people are going to get there. We still have $7,500 remaining. And these are quality players that you could never play all together for a lineup for 4-round stuff this week. And you could still live in the 7K range. That's how soft the pricing is going to be. But if you're building this kind of lineup, don't fall into the trap that everyone else is going to be in tomorrow. And let's see. Let's go like Rory. I think Rory's going to get a decent amount of ownership, right? Let's throw DJ in here. Like there's going to be a lot of people that are getting to this same exact kind of build that is just so cookie cutter out here. Let's see. Let's throw Thagala into this kind of lineup. Actually, let's do Adam Scott. I mean, I think he's going to be even higher on than what you're getting there with Thagala. Up here in the 8K range, you could probably take another guy who's relatively chalky. Let's throw Victor Hovland into this kind of lineup. Just don't build this way because there's going to be a lot of people that build real balanced. I mean, even if you just want to take Rory out of here and get even more balanced about it, like maybe throw in JT's going to get some ownership tomorrow. They're at $9,100. I would shy away from this, right? Like in large field GPPs, I like the balance strategy, but avoid taking all these 20% guys together, or else you're going to be playing a 2-on-2 versus the rest of the field, which is just not ideal. But there's plenty of options to choose from, I have to say, right? Like it's not like you're hard pressed to find pivots up there up top. There's going to be plenty that are low owned. Just to point out a few, the ownership was on the other tab. You can see it there, but like Morikawa, right? Cantlay's relatively low owned. I mean, if you really want a low owned play, I guess it would be Sungjae, but I'm not going to get there. But like J-Day, Terrell Hatton fits that description. Matt Fitzpatrick, right? Let's throw Sam Burns in there. All these guys can be mega low owned. Just maybe throw 1 or 2 of those into your GPP lineup, and you should be good to go. Let's see what we got down there. Your Bryson first round leader at least pushes. Decent, especially with the weather early in the morning, right? It's going to be a little bit chillier. You're going to have those 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts per the projections. He's minus 50 live right now. But yeah, where is he at? Is he on the front or the back 9? I think that's going to have a huge impact on it. So give me a second. I'll do some reconnaissance for you. So he's finishing on the front 9. Okay. Let's see. Finishing on the front 9 is not ideal. I would say if he was finishing on the back 9, he'd have a better chance. But let's take a look at it. I mean, all the holes that he has left are playing over par. So what? You need him to bogey 1 hole to end up pushing right there. Bogey 2 to actually end up winning it outright. I mean, let's see. The scoring average for the last few holes is over a stroke over par. It's like 1.2 shots over par. Granted, you're talking about a player that's in form, right? He's playing the best round of everyone round 1, but he has to wake up, completely reset, different time of the day, and has those windy conditions. So I don't know. I'm not going to jinx it for you, Birdie, but you definitely have a chance. Marco says, what up, Luke? Like the video, guys? I like it. Doing my job for me. You hit that like button, guys. Takes you a second. For a late round, you got to pick Scotty, Lowry, Bradley, DeChambeau, Kitayama, and Fox. So you're going with a bunch of PM guys, obviously, if they're all PM wave. Let's see. You have one chalky guy and a bunch of, maybe not all pivots, but a couple pivots, right? Like DeChambeau is going to be kind of chalky. Scotty's going to be kind of chalky. But you're throwing in the Lowrys of the world. You're throwing in Kitayama, who's going to be kind of low owned. I don't know. It seems a little bit chalky to me, to be quite frank with you. Like Kitayama, yes, but like Fox, he's probably going to be like 10, 15% there in the PM wave. Bradley is going to be like 20%. DeChambeau is going to be like 20% for those kind of contests. I don't know. I probably couldn't do that, Gust. That just, it seems like you have too much ownership there unless you're in a cash kind of build. Was your GPP lineup and single entry advice? Yeah, so for GPP lineups, you want to get a little bit more different. If you're in a single entry kind of build, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, feel free to take a few more guys that are chalky. Like, just to go through it, right? Like if you want to throw in an Adam Scott or you want to throw in, I don't know, Keegan Bradley, Justin Rose, something like that, it's not that big of an issue. I mean, even if you want to pick like a Dustin Johnson or a Scotty Scheffler, that's fine, right? But only make it 1-2 of those kind of players. That lineup that Gus threw down there, and the reason why I say that is like not only are like these guys chalk that Gus brought up, in the PM wave, they're going to be even more chalky, right? There's only half the players that you can choose from. So that chalk gets even chalkier. You want to avoid taking like 5-6 spots of chalk together. Like Lowry's relatively low on there, Kitayama is, but then the other 4 guys are going to be like substantially owned for that kind of contest. I would avoid that, right? Keep it to like 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're trying to just play a bunch of chalk and you can't get off it. But I wouldn't go to like 4 or 5. That's when you start to get in a little bit of trouble with dupes and then trying to get leverage to the field. In terms of props, guys, they did take the whole board down. Is that actually a thing? Okay, they're back up, but they're all bumped. They keep bumping them. So let's just do the prop talk. Honestly, and you guys can still take these props, by the way, even though they have been bumped. The scoring average today, right, was 3.5 strokes over par with perfect conditions. What do we think it's going to be? And this is a legit question to everyone out there, okay? I want you guys to answer in chat. What do you think the scoring average is going to be tomorrow when the winds are like 2-3 times harder? The greens are just going to get more baked out, right? There's been no rain in the area. There's no rain overnight supposed to come through. The just conditions in general are supposed to get harder as the week goes on. What do we think the scoring average is going to be, right? I mean, I have to say, I think it's at least 4.5 over par. It's at least a stroke harder, right? I think that's pretty safe to say. If you wanted to be really safe about it, at least 4 strokes over par. Is it 5 strokes over par? Like, do we think it gets that bad? I mean, because you have to think about it. This golf course makes you, it punishes you to the max every time you miss, right? The rough is long, right? It's hard to hack it out if you miss fairways. You miss the greens? Oh, it's almost impossible to get up and down if you miss the greens here, right? The rough is only, the rough's there, but the wind is only going to make that more prevalent. So when I'm trying to, put together my projections and I'm going out there and I'm betting props tomorrow, I'm assuming like a 4.5, 5 over par scoring average. Like I'm in that direction. Like the 4 over par average, I think is very conservative, right? That would be the most conservative estimate I think you could possibly make for tomorrow. But let's see what you guys got down there. Any guesses in terms of that? And I'm serious. I want to hear your guys' guesses in terms of the scoring average. I mean, I could see anything between like 4 to let's say like 7 over par being the scoring average tomorrow. I mean, if they don't take it easy on these players, if they don't really try and, cater towards them, right? Put pins and bowls, that sort of thing. I can't see it staying anywhere less than like 4 or 5 over par. It's going to be fun. Either way, though, this whole board, I took this entire board, every single player that's posted on Underdog over. They opened guys like Jordan at like 72 strokes. So I'll find some of the ones that I think have been bumped the least on here and point them out to you guys. Like JT started at 71.5. Now he's at 72 strokes. Like that's probably not a bad prop. Let's see this Keegan, right? He went from 71 to 72 strokes. I would still probably take him at 72. Bryson down there, he's at 72.5 strokes. He opened, I believe, at 72. I would smash that over at this point. Let's find a few other ones on here that haven't been bumped to oblivion. I guess let's throw JT on there. Love my guy JT, but don't know if I can do it here. These would be my top 4, I would say. These 4 props, and I would still take them. Like if I was able to bet more here on Underdog, which I can't, I literally maxed out every single player on the board. I would bet these again at full units, right? And what I would do is I'd break them up. I would just pick 2, put them together, right? Add, in the other 2, right? Go with your favorite slip, that kind of thing. That's how I would attack this kind of board. Oh, look at that. So Bryson 72.5. It wouldn't surprise me to see him at 73 here at some point. Keegan Bradley should probably be at like 73 strokes. I mean, I know the scoring average today, where it was only 3.5 over par, and these are elite tier players, but it's going to be like 5 strokes over par tomorrow. Like that's what I mean by I think that they really messed up here. I don't know if the Underdog lines maker looked at the weather, right? It's seeing how this course is going to change overnight because it's going to be absolutely ridiculous out there. I'm with you on that, Brant. 5.5 over, 5 over. You see the cut at +6 or +7. I do too. I think it might even be +7, +8 Maxwell. Or Wesley, I guess is your first name. Sorry about that, Wesley. Yeah, I could see it even being +7, +8. It's going to be an absolute slog out there. Let's find out a few more. Let's put Rory on there at 71 strokes. Don't hate that whatsoever. Victor opened at 70. Now he's at 71.5. Wow, they're moving stuff quick. Fitz, I don't hate it, 72.5. I would even throw. Okay, so you could do that as a slip, right? You had those first 4. You throw in those 2 as well. I guess the Scotty and Rom ones too, right? Even par. You know, the scoring average, if it's 5.5 over par, are we really betting guys to shoot even par or better on a 50-50 prop? Like, I wouldn't be, right? I would obviously be leaning on the over. Guys, it's literally the entire board. And honestly, I think that when Prize Picks comes out with their board, they're going to be above a lot of these numbers. Like, I could see them being like 71.5 strokes, or guys like a John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, guys like Brooks, I could see being at like 73 strokes. I could see Sahith being like at a 73.5, 74 strokes kind of projection. So that's what I mean by locking these in. Let's see. Have they even posted their board? They have. Let's see. Look at that. I told you guys. I'm pretty much spot on with these, aren't I? 71.5 strokes for those guys, right? Let's see. Am I right about some of the other ones? Like 73 for Matt Fitzpatrick, right? So maybe not the biggest edges with those ones, but like 70 strokes for Rahm and Scheffler. Huge edge, in my opinion, especially compared to this board that we're seeing over here. Sahith is at 73 strokes, right? So again, significantly higher. I guess it's only 0.5 strokes now, but I faded him at 71.5, right? Like I've just, the value that I have based, compared to this Prize Picks board is pretty comical. And for those that got in their props early on the Patreon, they probably had to feel pretty good about it here at this point. Let's see, has No House Advantage posted anything? They haven't. So they'll probably wait for Prize Picks. It's worth looking at these, birdie props. Let's see, have they posted them on Underdog? Sometimes you have to refresh it. Looks like they haven't. And by the way, guys, I would bet these ASAP. Like they're going to move. Like when Underdog sees the difference, they're all going to move. And I think rather quickly. Look at that. Keegan is at 73 strokes, guys. Was he 72? Yeah, he's still at 72 strokes. Like, that's a huge difference between the two sites. Let's just point out some of the bigger differences between the two sites. I think these ones stand out. Was Rory just 72 strokes? I think he might have been, right? Yeah, he's 72, right? He's 71. I mean, that's a rather large edge between the two sites there. What is Jordan at? They might not even be offering Spieth because of the injury. Right now he's at 72.5. So let's not fade my boy Jordan, right? If we don't have to, we're not forcing in the Jordan fade. Let's just say that. He's my boy, as you guys all know. Let's see, is Bryson even on here? He has 73 strokes. What is he? He's 72.5. Okay, so these would be like the 1-stroke edges that I see. I don't know if there's any other ones on there that are over a stroke. What is JT at? He's got to be like 72.5. Yeah, right. He's a world-class player, right? We're not going to disrespect him. Yeah, these would be the biggest edges to be had. You can see, they took John Rahm off. Big surprise. You can still bet these 3. Those would be the main props I would take. Huge value, honestly. Rahm at 70 strokes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, cut's going to be +5. I think it's going to be way worse than that, man. So just to give you a few reasons why. It's already, let's see, the cut line's the top 70 in ties. So keep that in mind. It's already +3 after 1 day, right? So keep that in mind, right? If we doubled that, it would be +6. So if we think it's going to be just as hard tomorrow as it was today, it'd be a +6 cut line, right? But look, it's creeping towards +4 already. So, like the scoring average, that was 3.5 strokes over par. It's really between 3 over 4 over par, right? So if we were to just double that, it would be like a 7 over par cut line, right? But when we consider the fact that the weather is going to be as hard as it's going to be tomorrow, right? 15 to 35 mile an hour wind gusts. No, I don't think it's going to be +5. I think it's going to be like +8, +7, maybe even +9, literally, if they set up the course difficult tomorrow. So, yeah, I think it's even worse than what you're thinking there. Here's the Patreon, by the way, just showing you guys this. If you want access to all my projections, the spreadsheets we have on here, that's where you can check them out. Also, where I first posted all of these underdog props. Let's see, how long ago did I post those? Those were at 8:26 p.m. So a little bit over an hour and a half ago, those were posted. And for the last hour and a half, they have just continuously gotten bumped up. So I guess that's the point/value of being in the Patreon, right? You get those props first. Let's check out No House Advantage, see what's going on there. Doesn't look like much is going on, unfortunately. Let's take a look at this Prize Picks board a little bit more. Still, let's see, any birdies are better on Underdog? Not yet. Wow, I'm surprised these guys haven't gotten taken down yet, by the way. This Keegan, Scheffler, and Rory McIlroy there, all over a stroke difference between the two sites. And I would still shade on the over on Prize Picks, if we're being honest. Like, it's that mispriced. They posted on Prize Picks. Yep, see that? What's going on, Miami Mike? Good evening. Let's take a look at a few other sites here. So No House Advantage hasn't posted yet. On Prize Picks, I suppose it's worth taking a look at the greens regulation and stuff. Oh my goodness. I've never seen this before. The lowest projections I think I've ever seen for guys on greens are like 9.5, and it's low tier players. We have like JT at 9.5 greens. I know we killed him on these today. We took all unders for greens. Unders for fairways were absolutely free today as well. But 5.5 fairways hit. Like, I know it's going to be difficult tomorrow, but like, it's not impossible. Oh boy. I'm not betting on Prize Picks. I've been telling you guys that for a while now, right? I've been avoiding it because of how they've been treating, us. Like, they DNP'd those props. Some of the rules they have with golf, right? With some of the multipliers are kind of BS, but I don't know. We're going to have to take a look at these because I've never seen projections this low. And the averages historically here for like greens regulation are like 10. I believe it was like 56% or something like that historically around Oak Hill, which is like right where all these guys are projected, which I don't think is crazy. The crazy part is that these are the elite tier players. Like, these are the best iron players in the world, right? So they project well over that. I know it's been renovated and whatnot, but we're going to have to keep an eye on that. That could be worth exploring. And then the fairways, they're also firmer and faster than what they've had in years past. But 6 fairways out of 14, they're projecting for like a 42% hit rate. I mean, 5.5 fairways. What's that? What's 5.5 over 14? They're projecting these guys for just horrible scoring tomorrow. 0.39 rate, 40% hit rate. I don't know. Might be some overs. Let's bring up the PGA Championship site and let's do some research live on here. I can take you guys through some of the thought process I go through when I'm picking some of the props that I'm doing. Might be pretty informative there. And of course, if you guys have any questions, have any props that you're taking, feel free to go ahead and point them out. Let's bring up the leaderboard. Let's go through some of these stats together. We're going to have to go through some questions. You don't support Prize Picks and rob them at will. Yeah, if they post like incorrect props, like, I'm all about going after it. Hoping for total chaos. Yeah, you're going to get it, man. I'm sure you've looked at the weather forecast. Oh boy. I mean, we're talking 25, 35 mile-an-hour wind gusts. Just good luck. Good luck playing an already ridiculously difficult golf course. Should be fun. But what I want to focus on here, guys, is I guess some of these stats. Like, I want to look at an exceptional round from today and see how they got it done, right? Because that's how we're going to figure out whether these are worth going after or not. Stats. Let's see. Greens regulation. So he had 11 greens, is I believe 61%. So he had 11 today, and he had probably one of the better iron rounds of the day, right? Yeah, he gained 2.2 strokes with the irons. So that was a near ceiling round on approach, and he had 11 out of 18, right? So that would have been an over on the board, right? But that was essentially a ceiling round today, right? Gaining over 2 strokes with the irons. And that would have been an over here. So maybe not. Maybe it's not quite the value I was hoping for. But we're not just going to use one example, right? We're going to go through a few other ones. So Corey Connors, another exceptional iron player. I would assume that he had a really good iron day today if he played well. Let's confirm that. Where's his stats? There you are. He hit 13 out of 18 greens and he gained 2.3 strokes. Okay, this is what we're looking for, right? We want guys that are actually hitting like 13 greens today. We're going to go out there and bet it. Let's see what DJ did. I don't think he had as good an iron day, but I can double check on it. Greens are like, oh, he hasn't finished his round yet. Is that right? I thought he did. He finished his round. There's no possible way to. Is there a way to have 64? Or am I tripping? Let's just do it here. Yeah, there's no way to have a 64. That's why I was freaking out, guys. There's no way to have a 64.7% green regulation percentage out of 18 greens. That's not possible. So I don't know exactly how many hit. It's somewhere around 12. Maybe he hit the last green. That would be his 12th green in regulation. But that's another player, right, who actually was only a slight gainer on approach that would have went over. And sure, we have windy conditions tomorrow, but we're trying to get a feel for the board, right? That's what we're doing with this right now. Let's look at Victor, another really good iron player. It's right, the kind of guy that would be priced on the board. That's why we're trying to focus on these kind of players. Would have went over, would have hit 13 out of 18 greens in regulation. Let's look at good old Keegan Bradley, right? Another really good iron player. Where are we at? Stats down here, 13 out of 18. I don't know. The more 13 out of 18s that we're seeing here, the more and more I think that we can bet overs on these green and regulations. Adam Scott hit 17 of 18 greens. Is that right? Is that correct? Interesting. It's also interesting that he's not on the board, right? Where's my boy Adam Scott? If he's hitting 17 of 18 greens, I kind of want to hop on that train. But let's look at a few more on here. Let's look at a few guys that maybe didn't play as well, right? Try and get a taste for what that looked like. And I can tell you, right, I bet a bunch of unders on these greens. It didn't look good when they didn't hit them. I know Xander hit 10, I believe 10 greens. Yeah, he went just under. Actually, he had 11 out of 18 today. He was right around a neutral with the iron play, and he would have went over his projection here. So I guess the point is, the reason why I went through all of that, you would be leaning on overs. I think even in difficult conditions at these kind of projections, hitting 10 of 18 greens is still doable. So, if we're looking for guys that they can handle the wind, I guess Brooks Koepka would fit that description. Tony Finau as well. He can flight the golf ball rather well. JT fits that description too. And yeah, these are the main three that are sticking out right now. Let's see if we can find a few fades, right? Because I can't believe I'm putting together a prize pick slip. It just feels dirty based on how they've been acting of late. These fairway props, I know Rory couldn't hit a fairway for his life today. Neither Brooks. Brooks was spraying it all over the place off the tee too. Probably why they didn't play all too well. Let's see. 6.5. Yeah. I'm probably staying away from the fairway board. It feels a little bit ticky-tacky, if I'm going to be frank with you. Let's look at the holes played props. These, of course, include the strokes from round one. So they're all within the cut line except for Rahm right now, or one outside the cut line for somebody like a Joaquin Niemann. John Rahm, of course, a little bit further back. But like I said, the cut line, I think, is going to be like +7, +8. That means that if John Rahm were to shoot +2 tomorrow, that he would still be within that cut line. His strokes prop rate is at 71.5. Why would you take his strokes prop for an under, right? If you wanted to support John Rahm, if you weren't willing to go over here and take the over on his holes played, right? He's a higher chance to hit this than his holes played prop, in my opinion. So I don't know. Maybe this is a way to get rid of the multiplier. It's something that we can consider, perhaps, with going with the slip. Let's see. Joaquin Niemann. But he's got to shoot like +3, +4 or better tomorrow. Like, what's his strokes prop, for example? Like, this is what I mean. Like, he doesn't look like he had the best day, right? You'd think like, oh, well, he's not going to make the cut, right? He's on the cut line. Let's get that straight, right? He's already on the cut line, and he's a much better than average player for this field. And you can see he's at 73 strokes, right? So they have him shooting 3 over par. Shooting 3 over par, right? Pushing that prop, in my opinion, makes you through the cut line, right? Is actually hit for this kind of a prop. So I don't know. I think that's maybe an angle to take with this, right? To go after that. If you do that, you can get, it's only a 7.5x. Oh, that's right. Because they're all props in the same direction. We need to find fades. So yeah, if I was going to do any of those two, I would definitely favor the John Rahm one. But yeah, we got to find negative stances towards his players. I don't know what I thought I was doing there, to be honest with you. Keith Mitchell to make, was that a 4.5 bogey line? I don't know if I could do it. 4.5 bogeys it's a lot. It's a lot of bogeys. I have to say that. Let's see. Let's go down the chat. Maybe they've got a fade for me. For Underdog and OS Advantage, how fast do withdrawals take? Underdog, I know it's like a week. It's like 5 days maybe. For PayPal, sometimes it only takes like 3 days. No idea on No House Advantage. I haven't done it yet. TG had 11 missed in the last 3 to go under. Yeah, so I was wondering what that was with the percentages on there. I guess whoever was doing the greens and regulation stopped tracking whenever they got to the back 9 there. No House Advantage is only a few days. That's good to know. It's good with their timing. And then thoughts on a Lowry bounce back. He hit the ball great. I love it. He couldn't make a bunch of those birdie putts early, right? Kind of got behind the 8 ball, didn't have the momentum going. Love those kind of players, right? Jordan Spieth couldn't buy a putt today. I'm sure there's a bunch of them, right? If you go over there to the shots gained, yeah, take the guys that were unlucky with the putter. Definitely agree with that. What are your thoughts on the slow play of late? Well, don't even get me started. I can tell you that I was somebody at the RBC Heritage that was actively heckling Patrick Cantlay because it was deserved. It was even worse to see in person. A lot of the shots that you see on TV, right, are worth the scrutiny that they get. What doesn't get scrutinized are the shots that are not on TV, right? Where they kind of know that he's going to take forever, so they're not showing them on camera. And he's taking like 2-3 minutes. I mean, there were literally people with stopwatches out there on their phone timing him in between shots. And there was a shot where he was like under a tree to the right. I believe it was like hole number 13 out there. Real long part of the property. It's a freaking hike to get out to 13 at Harbor Town. But literally the timer was like 3 minutes 40 seconds before he ended up hitting the golf ball. So like it's just, I don't know, it's despicable. I'm sick and tired of it. I know a lot of the players are. I'm sure the fans, the more and more that we talk about it, the more they're going to get sick and tired of seeing it. And hopefully they start to penalize these players because it has an impact on some, particularly some of the faster players that don't like it. And it shouldn't be their problem that others are just, blatantly breaking the rules and getting away with it. Like it shouldn't become their problem, right? It shouldn't impact their play. That's my opinion. You like Homa over 72.5? I do too. Is he gained 4 strokes putting? Huh. Yeah, you're right. Like those are the kind of guys you want to fade, right? Let's see. What's his prop on Underdog? I thought it was 72. They might have bumped it up. That's always a possibility. Oh, is he not even on Underdog? I thought he was. Maybe they took him off. They might have taken him off. So you're talking about on Prize Picks. So that's a good fade, right? We're trying to figure out a fade to add in here, right? Strokes fades would make a lot of sense. Like I like the over for greens, right? Just let me get this straight, right? It's still going to play ridiculously difficult tomorrow. It's just that I think these projections are just off. Like I don't know. Like 9.5 greens, like not. I hit over that in a round, and I know I'm not playing on these kind of golf courses, but like that's. I don't want to say it's slight work, but it's something that I can definitely handle. Let's find a few more. Like the Jordan Spieth one was kind of like sticking out to me. Like I love my boy Jordan, but like 72.5 strokes, like I kind of feel like he's going over. Hate to say it, Jordan, but it's true. I don't know if I trust you with this wrist injury they say you have. So they got Dustin at 72 strokes. What is he over here? Had to remind myself again. I took the entire board and it just keeps getting bumped. Oh, they don't even have Dustin up there. So 72 strokes would be comparable to like a JT. Yeah. Maybe avoid it because of the form. We're going to find one more fade and send this slip. Send it, as the kids say. I don't know. Phil at 74 seems fair. I mean, lean towards the over, but it seems kind of fair. We got Sam Burns, Sepp Straka. Maybe one of these little scrubs down low is the move. I mean, they have Keith Mitchell at 73. Like, that's probably not a horrible idea, truth be told. I don't know. Let's see. Does anyone else in chat got one they love? Abscott over. Oh, these birdie lines. You're right. We got to look at the birdie lines. I mean, they mispriced the green and regulation stuff. Maybe they mispriced some of these. 1.5 birdies. Oh my God. Dude, this is such a strange round to try and handicap. I have to say, it's we never see this. That's why it's so strange. It's just it's doable. It's gonna be absolute madness out there tomorrow. But look at this, like 2.5 birdies. Like, here's the issue, right? Today, people were struggling to go over 2.5 birdies, which seems ridiculous, but it's true. They were literally struggling to go over 2.5 birdies, and the conditions going to be harder tomorrow. They've got one birdie on Kevin Kisner. Oh my God, are they really going to make me bet that? Because like he's obviously more than capable of making more than a birdie. I know it's not his kind of golf course, but like, come on. Well, he made one today. Okay. I want to look at his stats. That's the important part here. So in terms of shots gained, he lost across the board. All right, no, he gained a putting. Okay, so he at least did that. Around the green, neutral, lost off the tee, and lost on approach. How many fairways did he hit? That's what I want to see. How many damn fairways this guy hit? 35%. Well, that's the issue, right? He's not long off the tee and he couldn't hit a fairway for his life. I do have to say, this is the kind of player that just kills it under really, really difficult windy conditions. I mean, Zach Johnson at 1 birdie too. Like, these guys have the par fives and the drivable par four still. Oh my God. You know what? No. This is disrespectful as hell. I am actually betting this on Prize Picks. That is mega disrespectful for Kevin Kisner and Zach Johnson. In fact, I love that play. I absolutely love this Kevin Kisner, Zach Johnson play. Like, it's not like it's impossible for them to make a birdie. Like, it's not like this is a stroke line where they're going to get absolutely screwed by the everything, the wind and whatnot. There's going to be downwind holes. If one of the par fives is downwind, like maybe they even reach it in two and it's an easy birdie. One of the medium length par fours that's like 450 yards, it plays downwind, right? They have a wedge into that. Like, I don't know. They're not the best players in the field, but 1 birdie, like, come on, you've got to be kidding me there. These 2.5 birdie ones, like the 2 ones are the ones that I think stick out a little bit more. Like a Matt Fitzpatrick at 2 birdies, like probably not the worst bet for an over, believe it or not. Like it's going to be difficult out there tomorrow. You're going to make a bunch of bogeys, but when you keep yourself in play, it's not impossible to go out there and find success. And I guess what kind of differentiates like the Phil Mickelson from some of these other ones is the fact that you get a push right there with one. But actually, this is the exposure I'm going to go with over here on Prize Picks. The green regulation ones are great and all, but I think that these are prime for the taking. This is how I'm going to do. I'm going to mix and match the Phil there, and I'm going to add the Zach Johnson one for 70. I'm just going to use the money I have on here. I'm not depositing anything else over here on Prize Picks. I refuse. After some of their recent action. So just to put all the props on there, I guess to show you the ones I'm taking. All right, it's the Kisner, it's the Zach Johnson, it's this Phil Mickelson prop up there. It's going to be difficult tomorrow, but it's not going to be impossible. And I think it's a bunch of push equity right over here on Prize Picks. If you push one, hit one, you're still going to get paid 1.5x. If these were an underdog, I wouldn't like them as much because if you have a 2-man slip and one pushes, you get an automatic refund for the entire slip. Or you can't earn 1.5x if the other one ends up hitting. But over here on Prize Picks, they handle that differently. So that's also another reason why I like that one a little bit more. Let's look at your chat. Has anyone else noticed those 1 birdie props? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous to me. Let's see. Any value on Eric Cole minus 150 to be the leader? No, I don't think there is. I think if anything, I would take anybody else. Like Bryson, first round leader. If you can live bet it, I would live bet that. Cole has to play some really difficult holes. Every single hole plays over par for the rest of his round. He's going to have really difficult windy conditions. Can't play looked horrible today, and you loved every second of it. Yeah, he loses me a lot of money whether I'm playing him or not. And unsurprisingly, played him this week. And look at that, he's playing horrible. Right on cue. Birdie says, looking through it with you, Brooks 5.5 fairways seems kind of whack. It does. Like, I know he's not great off the tee, but like 5.5 fairways, okay. Who played good that surprised you, and who played awful that surprised me? Biggest awful surprise, John Rahm. Thought he'd play a lot better. In terms of one that played well that maybe I didn't expect, Bryson DeChambeau. I played him this week. I knew the upside was there, but I certainly wasn't expecting it. Right? Like I thought he was going to come out and suck like 80, 90% of the time. Came out, looked really sharp. So we'll see if it continues. But yeah, good old John Rahm's got to figure this shit out. It's not a good day for the Spaniard out there, and it was not a good day for my exposure. He's my highest owned player. If Wyatt birdied 16 and get another tomorrow, that's probably true. Same thought process there, right? If he's at 0.5 birdies, that's probably disrespectful. I don't know anything about Wyatt. Do Europeans have an edge if we get high sustained wins? I think so. Most of my value plays, especially in the 6K range, are DP World Tour players. So hopefully that answers your question. I definitely think that narrative is a pretty good one for tomorrow. I guess just to note, right, a few other props that I had on here that I still do like would be like this Brooks, JT, Tony Finau over for greens of regulation. I think there's value to be had there. I chose to put my exposure on Prize Picks on these one birdie props, but I think you could go in that direction too. I don't think they're the worst props that you can take. Let's take a look at Underdog. Let's see if there's been any bumps. Looks like there have been. There goes Rory. These are the two main props that have a huge difference between Prize Picks and Underdog. So if you are just hopping in here and you're looking for a bet on Underdog, this is what I would bet. The Keegan over and the Scheffler over. Keegan is at, first off, Scheffler's at 71.5, right? So there's a stroke and a half advantage between the two sites. And then Keegan is at 72 strokes. And then over here, he's at 73, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah, there he is down there at the bottom, 73 strokes. So those are the two I would take right now if you're a little bit late to the party. Let's see if No House Advantage has hooked us up yet, because if so, we can nuke a few slips out here, and it doesn't look like they have. Bummer. All right, well, if you're looking for my No House Advantage picks, make sure to check them out on the Patreon. I'll be posting those as soon as that board goes live on there. Underdog board, I've literally already maxed out. If you're also just joining us, I took these overs for strokes when they were all like a stroke and a half, 2 strokes lower at sometimes. Like Rory was 70 strokes, just to give you an idea. Let's see some other ones. Like Victor Hovland was at 70 strokes. Oh, look at that. Fitz is getting taken off the board. Like they're just going to continue to go up, right? Because Prize Picks has them priced even higher. So if you're going to nuke anything tomorrow, if you're really going to take a lot of exposure, make it the props over here in Underdog. I think this is the biggest edge. In terms of stuff on Prize Picks, it's actually some of the positive stances, right? Like, especially for some of the niche kind of stuff, like the birdies are better stuff down there at 1, or some of these greens and regulation props that I pointed out. Another guy mentioned this Brooks prop over for fairways. Like, I don't hate that. Like, he's more accurate than Rory McIlroy, so you can definitely give him that edge there. These bogey props, they're probably fair. Like 4.5 bogeys for these scrubs, that makes sense. 3.5 for some of the guys playing better, that makes sense too. So I'd probably stay away from there. And I suppose I do like this over for John Rahm's holes played. Like he's making the cut. Like I know he's at +6, right? I think that's going to be within the cut line tomorrow by stroke, maybe even 2 strokes. Just go out there, right? Shoot even par, and he's going to make the weekend. So even if he shoots over par, I think even if he shoots like 1 over par, he's probably making the cut. But 2 over par puts him at +8. That might be on the edge. That might even make it to the weekend, right? With how difficult the conditions are. So I don't hate that prop either from that perspective. But that's all we've got for the live stream, guys. Hopefully you guys feel a little bit more prepared for tomorrow. We're doing the same thing for rounds 3 and 4. So make sure to keep an eye out for those on my social media. If you guys ordered my book today, as I know a lot of you guys did on social media, on the Patreon, just want to say thank you guys for that. It's first time I've written a book, right? Something of a milestone accomplishment that I'm going after. So I appreciate all the support on that end as well. Can't wait to bring you guys the book. It's got some fire content in it and a lot of content that I want to share with you guys too. So looking forward to that. Im is +10. Yep. Yeah. And maybe I raised an eyebrow to that too, right? I didn't expect that. But yeah, that's that kind of golf course. Your students got a 5-minute break today so you could get your book. Thank you, Julian. I love that. And I like that you gave the students a little 5-minute break to go out there and be able to do that. And right, they get the break, right? They get to enjoy phone time, snack time, whatever it was. And then you helped me out too. So I appreciate that, man. That's sweet. Phil's birdie needs to be head-to-head against Callum Shinkwin. Ooh, Callum Shinkwin, complete unknown. I don't even know who that guy is. He's a DP World Tour player, so I know who he is. I've heard of him, but I don't know anything about his game. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know. If they have Phil at 1.5 birdies, right? Like you got to think that his birdie line is probably better than the birdie better matchup, right? That's my take on that one. Either way, guys, I've got some lineups to make. I've got some props to enter a no house advantage. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the live stream. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't already, so you guys don't miss any of the content over the weekend. And let's cash out some money tomorrow, whether it's for props or over there on Showdown.